Shutter speed equals ambient light.
Shutter speed controls your ambient light. Aperture controls your flash power. Yep.
I have a question. Is that only for like receptions indoor, or would that work for outdoor receptions?
It works for outdoors as well. However, if it's during the daytime, it's going to be a little bit harder when because during the daytime, if you use a shutter speed that low, you're probably getting so much light, kind of like we're getting here, getting so much light coming in from the tent, that if you do a low shutter speed, you're not going to be able to do a low enough shutter speed to underexpose. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. In other words, it's always because what happens if I do 1/30th of a second, and before I fire my flash, it's showing me metered at 0. What's going to happen to that photo? I'm going to capture the movement of them, right? It's going to be out of focus. Their bodies are going to be out of focus. So I have to underexpose. I have to make them dark and only be lit up by that flash. Okay. Now, since we're talking about reception lighting, let me just throw in a few more things on this, guys. So I just kind of skipped down one section here. But when it comes to reception lighting, the other thing is I always, or I shouldn't say always, but my go-to lighting is one light behind and then one light on my flash. So in other words, I have a fill flash in front, and I usually just point it up or to the side a little bit, and then I have one light behind. That light behind is my rim light or my separation light, and that's what basically brings the people out. Okay. I'm not gonna.
You always use an on-camera flash too?
Not always. Sometimes I'll put it off, but I always have two lights basically, or if the DJ has a spotlight, I'll just use his. But I like to do two lights, and it's basically. And by the way, I shouldn't say it's my go-to, but here's the funny thing, guys. When I shoot receptions, I look at it as like a science lab. I do all kinds of different stuff, and I mix it up quite a bit and change things. And so here's a few of the different things I do. One is I love to have that rim light behind him, and so I'll put it up on a stand. I'll point it down, and that way it's not like I don't get it in my shot. It's like pointed right at me.
How tall is it?
8-9 feet,
And
something
you
like
point it
that.
down.
Point it down. I usually put it by the DJ stand if I can, or
When
the
you
DJ.
say point it down, you don't mean you're pointing it down.
No,
You're
like
pointing
angle it down.
Angle.
Towards the dance floor.
Yeah, towards the dance floor, so I'm hitting the top of their heads. Yeah.
9 feet or 8 feet tall.
8-9 feet. Yeah, kind of down. Yep. Exactly. And then I'll use my fill flash. Now, when I say fill flash, I don't point it at the couple. I just point it up in the air. And all I'm doing is I just want to try to bounce a little bit of light off the ceiling or wherever and bring it back down and just kind of a little bit of the ambient. Or if I don't want to do that, let's say the ceiling's super high and it has a dark roof, which we've been there before, right? And then when you shoot it up and it just evaporates in the dark paint because it doesn't have any reflective surface. In those situations, then I'll put another flash on a stand and I will fire one here and one there. And it's actually kind of nice because then you can circle around and do whatever you like.
I kind of do that.
Yeah. So yeah, my favorite system, guys. One, I love Alien Bees, but two, my favorite system is actually I have the Canon 600 speed lights, and I love them because I don't have to have any pocket wizards or radio poppers or anything, and they speak to each other. And then I can actually even do ratios, so I can say, hey, I want that flash firing at 1/32, and I want this flash firing at half the power of that flash. Or things like that, which at Brooks Institute, they do a lot of that ratio type stuff. Yeah, exactly. So it's...
Do you ever have an issue with your flashes being set off by...
Other people's flashes?
Yeah.
Only when you're using like an optical system, it will do that. So the way to get around that is get some kind of trigger system that you can get off that optical. And I would say if you really want to try it out and you want to experiment with it a little bit, the cheapest investment that will give you some good triggers is Cactus V5.
Yeah, I have those.
Yeah, Cactus V5.
They're like $50.
Exactly. I think it's $60 for like basically a transmitter and a receiver, so like $30 each. And you can now. That was my first set of triggers I ever bought. They weren't the V5; it was the V3 at the time. But I was so stoked. I got them. I put one on my flash. I went across the room. I fired it. I'm like, holy crap! It just fired my light. That was amazing. And I was like, dude, I was so stoked. And did you do the same thing? You're like, what? Yeah. And so that was my intro to that. And like I said, $60, as opposed to going and spend $400 or $500 on pocket wizards.
Yeah, if you're just learning like Young Yuo on Amazon, you can get like 3 triggers.
Just got that
Like,
yesterday.
they're literally like
That's a
30 or 40
perfect way
bucks.
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Camera.
pretty good.
I was doing that exact
So that
thing.
you're doing that, you can
Yeah.
do it, whatever.
Yep.
And then you're.
There's-
So-
So, like, provide that real light, and then it's flashing
Okay.
highlights that.
All right. So guys, the question, Marie, right?
Mary Sue.
Mary Sam.
Mary Sam? How do you spell that?
M-A-R-I-E-S-A-M. My mom's name is Mary, my dad's name is Sam.
Oh.
Oh, I like that. Mary Sam.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a pretty name. So Mary Sam, basically, her question was, do I have a softbox on this stuff? I don't have a softbox. I used to. When I first was starting, I thought it was I got to make this light really soft. The problem is, when you have a softbox and the person is, let's say, 20 or 30 feet across the room, is that softbox going to make much of a difference? It really doesn't. An umbrella really doesn't either. I mean, because they're so far away. Now, if they're close, if I have a softbox here and they're dancing right here, it makes a gorgeous difference. In fact, let me go back to the wedding that Shannon and I shot together. At that wedding, they had this huge dance floor, and they had this great big gigantic space that went kind of back towards this bathroom that wasn't being used at all. It's just like a big open space. And so just for the hell of it, I was like, you know what? They're all dancing pretty close to here. There's nothing behind us over here that I have to worry about. I put my light stand up. I put a big softbox on it just to create that pretty light as like her and her grandpa were dancing around it and stuff. And it was like really beautiful shadowless light just, wrapping around them. But it's not common. I don't do that very often. Usually I just flash, nothing else, and I'm just hitting them with it. The biggest thing you got to worry about, guys, is when you're hitting them with a flash, if my flash is coming, let's say it's coming from this side right here, I can't be at a 90-degree angle. I have to be at about a 45-degree angle to that light in order to get them lit up perfectly and nice without that crazy side light. Remember that light pattern we talked about, side light, where they're lit up on one side and dark on the other? It might work for some dancing photos, but the best way is to be at that 45-degree angle. If you have an assistant, Wendy, if you're out shooting and you can have Chris just follow you around on a light stand, even better. Being about 45 degrees from you, that would be rocking. So.
So you're waiting for, like, say it's like for the first dance, you're waiting for them to get to that shot that you want, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll be kind of moving my 45-degree angle. Now, when I'm doing a first dance, it's a little bit different because I like to do some silhouette shots when they're doing first dance. So I might swing around the other side and just shoot right into my flash without any fill. I like to do some stuff with a DJ light. I like to kind of mix it up a little bit. So the first dance, I'll really kind of shift around quite a bit. But yeah. Actually, and I'll tell you guys, it's so funny. If I could design a perfect wedding reception, I would have the first dance come after they come in and sit down and do their toast, and then I would have them do a first dance. And why? It's because, like, we finished sunset shots, and we're running back to the reception, and they're bustling the bride's dress, and they're throwing her in there and doing the introduction and stuff, and I don't even have my light stand set up. I'm like, ah! And so I've shot so many first dance photos with just a flash bouncing off ceilings and stuff like that.
Yeah, see, we don't do our first dances like that. They're always at the end after dinner.
Really? Oh, it seems like in Arizona, it's like right when they walk
Yeah,
in, it's first
same
dance.
here.
They introduce right into first dance. So,
Yeah, that's fine.
so let's just a couple more things, guys. Going back up to where it says shooting off camera flash, I put in here 2 light sources by using a flash behind with the reflector in front. What this means is basically, perfect example. Here we go. Keith was helping me on this engagement session, and look at right here. Oh, let's see, not that one. Where is it? So this photo right here, are you guys able to see that? When I shot this, you guys, hopefully you can see it okay, but when I shot that, I first had the girl stand there in this little spot. I had Keith stand kind of behind, right about here, to this, behind that sculpture thing. And then I had the husband or the fiance hold a flash pointed towards her. So I basically had Keith and the husband kind of pointing towards each other, catty corner or whatever, with her in the middle, okay? I shot it and I realized I was putting way too much light on the blue. And so I said, you know what, forget that. So I took his flash, I took it from him, and I basically just put up a reflector. And I had the reflector bouncing light back to them. So now Keith was the only one firing a flash, and the reflector was bouncing just a little bit of light back to him. So the reflector's right about here, just off the camera side. And I just had the reflector on top of a board that we just found sitting there. I put it on top, and we were good to go. Now, why would I choose to do the reflector in front with Keith in the back? What do you guys think? Yeah, well, I mean, because the biggest thing is I can have Keith's flash be as much power as I need, and I'm still going to get the same rim light. They might be blown out. They might be all ethereal in the back. They might look like angels, but I really don't care. I'm not seeing that side of them, right? I'm firing that flash past the couple, bouncing off the reflector, and just getting a little extra fill back to them. Getting a tiny bit of fill on the blue, but really that's, So if you guys are ever in a situation where you're like, oh, well, Trevor, that's awesome that you have 3 Canon 600s, but we only have 1 flash. That's totally fine. You could absolutely still create a 2 light source by putting 1 flash behind them at a little bit of an angle, shooting their backs, having 1 person with a reflector, bouncing light back to them. Okay? Speaking of which, let me show you guys one other example of this. Okay, this isn't the example, but this is high-speed sync, by the way. This was shot at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I want to show the blue skies. What is high-speed sync, guys? Who can tell me what high-speed sync is?
You shoot more than 100
Okay. What do we say the restriction was on the shutter that we couldn't go past? 1/200th of a second. Well, let's say at 10 o'clock in the morning, I want to shoot at 1/8,000th of a second. And my shutter, remember, it's like, well, sorry, flash, you weren't quick enough. Well, basically, if you're shooting at high-speed sync, what the flash does is it pulsates. And it goes, and it like hits it a lot. Now, it's going to kill your batteries. But if you want to create kind of like this dark sky, kind of these moody kind of images, which this was a senior session and she was into track, and so I thought we'd create one, kind of cool track type photo. High-speed sync is basically I'm firing that flash numerous times. Now, on your camera, or excuse me, on your flash, you'll see it. It's by has a little H with like a little lightning bolt flash symbol next to it. That's high-speed sync. So
That's really bad for your flash too. You don't want to do it a lot.
no, you don't want to do it a lot. You don't want to do it a lot consistently.
It's that one epic shot.
Yeah.
How do you know how fast? Because I know you can change it. Like I've done it before. Where like it looks like a strobe light. But like, how do you know how fast you have to go? Is there like a correlation between shutter speed and?
It'll
No,
let
it will tell.
let you go
Oh,
up.
okay.
So you just adjust it until it looks the way you want.
Yeah, it will let you can take your shutter up, and like on the Canon 600s, I can go up to 1/8,000th.
On the
Yeah.
580X, it's this little button right here. It's got like the H with this.
Right, but it'll do it. It'll figure it out on that.
Yeah, well, you take your shutter up, it will fire as many pulsating flashes as it needs to match that shutter speed. So
You just turn it on there. You don't.
You just turn it on.
Anything else?
Now, like with Canon stuff, it has to be either on flash or on camera, or it has to be
The
connected to
600.
something with the 600 that'll let it transmit the fact that it's doing it. But you can do it. You can do it with the 600. You can do it. I think.
if you guys want to play, I brought mine, and again, when we're outside, you can play with them. But it's basically in order to get those dark, rich blue skies and still get that flash kind of look. I wouldn't necessarily use it with couples too much as I would more for, kind of those moody photos, grooms and stuff like that. Again, when I'm shooting a wedding, my time is so limited, I typically don't get into all this stuff. I'm not going to like set up, I'm going to do this and that. This is more for like seniors. And I typically, in fact, this is another little observation Keith made the other day. He said, Trevor, I noticed that you really don't bust out your flashes and stuff until like the last 10 minutes of your sessions. And it's totally true. I shoot, and then I go, hey, couple, now that we got a ton of great shots, I want to do a few shots with you guys with flash. And we're going to basically go from kind of a shotgun to like a sniper mode, where I'm going to set you guys up, and then you're going to be just kind of nice, slow shots. I'm going to shoot one, I'm going to turn you guys around a little bit, shoot another one, kind of, so it's a little bit slower, you kind of slow things down. Let me show you guys, this is an example I want to share with you, where, again, I had one flash. It was a 430 EX. It was the only flash I owned, and I still wanted to create that kind of off-camera flash look. Now, the other thing that was bothering me when I was shooting this was a newscaster from Arizona. Her name was Alexis Del Chiaro, and she wanted some shots for her website, her portfolio. And so I took her out, we started shooting, and as we were shooting, she had a makeup hair person with her, and this person was annoying me. That every single time I would chimp my camera, every time I would look down at my photo to make sure my exposure and stuff was okay, the hair person would step in and try to fix something and spray, and she would take like a minute between each time, and I just was like sitting there like, really? This is annoying. So finally, what I decided to do is I got my reflector out of my truck, and I told the hair lady, I said, hey, can you come over here? Can you hold this reflector right here? So I had to hold it in front of her face, right, so she couldn't look at Alexis anymore. And then what I did is I sped up my shutter to about 1/200th of a second. I took my aperture up to about f11. Took my ISO down to about 100. Now, guys, this was like right about at I shouldn't say right about, like maybe 10 minutes before sunset. So the sun was low, but there was still quite a bit of light in the sky, as you can see. But here, this next shot, this was done about 5 minutes later. So it wasn't like a half hour later or anything like that. 4 or 5 minutes later, once I grabbed my reflector, gave it to the makeup person and told her where to stand, we get this. Now, again, this is a couple years ago. So I was still kind of new to this, and there's things I would do to change it now. But do you see the difference between the last shot and this shot? And again, I apologize, the colors are kind of yellowy, orangey, kind of weird, but that's all right. I know. But all I did was, with one flash on camera, I didn't have triggers, I didn't have Cactus 5s, I didn't have Yogi Gnome Youngs. I didn't have any of that kind of stuff. All I did was I took the flash, I pointed it this way, I had the hair person stand right about where you guys are, right in that general area, and then basically she just pointed the reflector back and it just went boom, boom, and then now what kind of light are we getting right here? It's just a tiny bit. I wish I would have pushed the hair reflector a little bit more. At the time I didn't know about lighting patterns though. But I'm getting a little bit of a loop light. You see that loop light coming off her nose coming this way? And that's because that reflector, is that what you said? Okay, I saw your wife like, good job, babe.
The nose light.
Yeah, the nose light, right? Yeah, a little bit of loop light coming off. So ideally, if I could go back and do this again, I would have pushed her a little bit more to the side, the reflector, and a little bit higher, and it would have caused a little bit more of that shadow coming off. And then this is an example where I love where Chad was talking about flash. He said if you're shooting, if your style is kind of that, what were your exact words? Basically, you're saying if you use a flash, make it still kind of accompany your style, where you're not going from like, happy wildflowers to really edgy flash type look. This was one of those examples, guys, where it was basically I wanted to create a light, but I didn't want them to be like too like crazy, like popping out of the background, but I just wanted a little bit of fill light. And so I brought the city in. What kind of aperture do you think I was using right here?
F11.
Yeah, why do you think you said F11? Because you can see all those little dots, right? They're not like little bokeh lights or anything, right? So I was like F11, F16, something like that. The other reason I went with a high aperture is why? Because I wanted to go really slow shutter speed to be able to bring this car that was driving by. I just wanted a little bit, that's what this car was right here. So the car drove by, and then once it drove by, I literally ran over to the side and I hit him with a flash, and just a tiny bit, just like, it was actually, I think it was like 1/16 power because I was going across the street. But I didn't want to like pop them bright. I just wanted to pop them a little bit to give a little fill light. So just kind of bring them into the background. So things like that. All right, let's go down to marketing real quick, guys. I want to talk about a few of the marketing things that I love doing. And then like I said, I'll mention one of my favorite little things that I just started, and it's just awesome. First one is same-day slideshows. I know a lot of you guys are already doing this. Same-day slideshows are amazing. I would not go a wedding without doing one. And I always shoot in RAW and a JPEG. And the reason I do that is because when I do my same-day slideshows, I only download the JPEGs. Now, if you're on a Mark III, I would highly encourage, or a Nikon D3S, I think you guys can shoot 2 cards, right?
2 CFs.
Yeah, 2 CFs. I would highly encourage you to shoot 1 RAW and 1 JPEG, is what I do. And then that way I can just download my JPEGs from that card. If you're on a Mark II or any of those cameras that don't do that, like a 60, you guys don't have 2 slots, right? Just 1?
We don't have CF.
Okay, we have the SD, that's fine. I always shoot 1 RAW and 1 small JPEG. And the reason is because when I put that camera or that card in my computer, I download just the small JPEGs and then rock out the slideshow in Lightroom.
On your RAW, are you doing large RAW or like the smaller RAW?
When I did that camera, I was doing the small RAW because all I did it for was my same-day slideshows. Now with my Mark III, I shoot large JPEGs just because I use it as a backup as well.
No, so like you said, small
Oh, I'm sorry.
JPEG,
No. Large RAW.
Large RAW,
Small JPEG. Yeah.
It depends on it. I mean, if you're going to show people on a 42-inch plasma, if you're same-day slideshow, you don't want small JPEGs.
Yeah, I even put my slideshow on an iPad and I just pass it around, little mini iPad. People are like, Trevor, are you afraid you're going to lose it or it's going to get stolen or whatever? I've done it at 6 or 7 weddings now. It's never been stolen or anything. So I actually bought insurance for it that if it does get stolen, that I can replace it for $100. But
People lost it on airplanes, so that's...
well, that was a different one.
Yeah.
A couple more things here. Softbox portraits. This is one of my favorite marketing things, and I can guarantee it will get you weddings because it has already booked me weddings, and I love it. And sadly, I didn't even do it at Sean and Jen's, really. I mean, at the very, very end. Well, but I didn't really force it. But softbox portraits is one of my favorite things, and what it is, guys, is basically, I don't care if there's even a photo booth going on. I don't even care if they hired me to do a photo booth, and I'm doing a photo booth. I will still do softbox portraits. All it is it's a really pretty light to shoot portraits of couples, groups, families, whatever. And I do this for 2 reasons. One, because when I'm shooting family photos, they're like, oh, we want this set, we want this set, we want this set, we want this set of family, and we need cousins, and we need, And so what I do is I always tell the couples and the mom and dad, so right before the ceremony, I tell mom and dad, I say, hey guys, right after the ceremony, we're gonna do family photos. So this is where I'm setting their expectation, right? We're gonna do family photos, and when we do family photos, what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit the immediate family, and then just those really important shots. Now, any of those other shots with aunts and uncles and cousins and things that you guys wanna have, tonight at the reception, I'm gonna have a nice softbox. And this is how I explain it to them, because they don't know what a softbox is. I say, I'm gonna have a nice softbox, kind of like you see at Sears, those big things? I'm gonna have one of those set up. And it'll be just off to the side somewhere. You guys come over and bring those groups in, bring the uncles and aunts over, and we'll get that nice shot if you'd like to do. If it has to be by a wall, I wanna make sure that there's like 5 or 6 feet from the wall, and that's because there's a law called the inverse square law. You guys know the inverse square law? Inverse square law is basically the way light falls off. And so if I have an inverse square law and I put this light right on Shannon, for example, she's going to be lit up nicely, but as long as she's like 5 or 6 feet away from the wall, then that light's going to fall off enough to create a nice, pretty backdrop, and it's not going to be like the wall all lit up. Okay? So I won't go to detail about the inverse square law, but it is written in the notes in there. If you just start and you want to go look into it, it's basically just the way light falls off and how the further it goes off, the quicker it diminishes. And so I'm always looking for that. A couple more things. We talked about cigar photos, same day prints. I actually have a printer now. It's a Canon Selfie C900, I think it's called. And I actually will bring it, and depending on the reception, how it's going, I will put up my little SD card in there, and I can actually fire off some prints right away for the couple. I haven't done it a whole lot yet, but I did do it recently. I had a mom was at the wedding, and she was terminally ill, and they were giving her just a few more weeks, basically. She was in a wheelchair, and she was happy to be there at her daughter's wedding, but you could tell she was really struggling with it. And I just went and I spent like 10 minutes. I printed out about 20 photos for her. Kind of gets me all emotional. I took it over to her and I said, hey, it was so great being here with your family. I want to give you some prints right now, just so you'd have them of your family and stuff like that. Really, it was, I don't know how I would feel if I found out 2 weeks later that she passed away before I got those photos to her. And so I wanted her to see like her family photos, and she was so excited and everything else. So I'm going to do more of those. A couple more things, guys. Building relationships with coordinators and vendors. I say here, timeline is king. Don't ever be late. Don't ever show up late. Another thing, here's one of my favorite little tricks, and I'm surprised how many people don't do this. Sign up for their Facebook notifications. Okay, you have a certain vendor in town that you're like, oh my goodness, I want to work with that vendor. I want to work with that venue. I want to work with that coordinator. You go on Facebook, and under their page, it says like this page, if you roll your mouse over it, it says get notifications for this page, or something to that effect, right? If you click on that, every time they post anything, you get a little notification. You know that little 1, 2, 3 notification on Facebook? You get a little notification that says, hey, so-and-so posted. Well, guess what? Every time they post, I go in there, I like it, and I comment on it. Or like, oh, this is so awesome. I don't comment as Trevor Daly Photography, I just comment as Trevor Daly. But immediately they're like, who is this Trevor Daly guy that's always liking and commenting on our stuff? Because are that many people commenting on wedding coordinators things or venues? Maybe 2 or 3. And you all of a sudden stand out because you're the one doing it, and guess who they're going to remember? They're going to be like, oh, that Trevor Daly guy. Yeah, we shot a wedding with him like a month ago. He's such a cool guy. He's always following us on Facebook. Well, I'm following you because I'm getting a notification every time. Now, don't overdo it. But, yeah, right? But it's an amazing opportunity, to get yourself to stand out. Same thing, if you want a second shoot for somebody, don't send them an email and be like, hey, I've been following your work. I know you don't know who I am, but I'm really trying to get better and whatever. They're not going to know who you are. They're going to be like, who's... Get notifications of their page every time they post a photo, comment on it for like 2 weeks, and then after you've done that and they've noticed your name a few times, then send them an email and say, I've been following your work, I absolutely love it, and I would love to be able to go out and assist with you. So it's a little tool on Facebook that's so powerful, and so many people don't use it, and I'm glad they don't, because I've been able to create some amazing connections with wedding coordinators just as a result of that one little thing. And then, obviously, get them images. A lot of photographers give albums to wedding coordinators. I personally don't have $350 to spend on albums for them, so I will send them a canvas, and it's like $40, $50, a lot cheaper. And canvases usually they hang up behind them in their office and things like that. Portfolio images for their website. Guys, check this out. This is a coordinator. Whoops. You guys are all commenting here. Okay, this is a team of coordinators right here that do huge weddings. Every one of their weddings is like 150,000 plus. And when I found that out, because I did a wedding for them that was about a $200,000 wedding, which is insane, right? And I found that out, and I was like, who is this team of coordinators always doing these big weddings? And their name was Some Like It Classic. There's no other Arizona photographers here, right? I'm just kidding. No, group of cute girls, right? And I'm like, Amina, who's the one in the middle here. I was like, Amina, I want to come out and I want to get some photos of you guys. And she's like, oh, that's so sweet. How much do you charge? I was like, no, Amina, let me just do it. I just want to get you guys some photos so you have some great photos for your new website, because I knew that they were coming out with a new website. How? Facebook, right? I knew she was saying, yeah, our website's going to be down. We're doing some revamping. It's going to come out soon. So I'm like, I know you have a new website coming out. Let's get you some new photos you guys can use. So we go over. I get to meet all these girls. I get to shoot photos, individual photos of each of them. And who do you think they're going to have friends getting married? These girls are like in the early 20s, right?
It already has all these relationships with people that have been working in the industry, and so you don't want to like step over someone's toes, or they
Yeah.
also like have been working with this photographer for 10 years.
Yeah.
So how
I
do
have
you?
to retire sometimes.
Well, and I think, I mean, personally, like, I have particular DJs and stuff that I love, but if somebody came up to me and was like, dude, you know, I love working with you, you're amazing, and that DJ was fun to work with as well, I would totally send that person business. And I think it's really a matter of showing them that you care enough. Like, I wouldn't necessarily, again, I wouldn't call somebody up and be like, hey, I want to do photos of you guys. I would do that Facebook strategy first, and then I would, you know,
I missed that.
the strategy, it's the one where you get a notification every single time that they
Post something.
post something.
And you like it.
and then you
You
like it or
comment.
comment or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it on my own page here. It's right here is where it's at. You just roll over right here and it says,
I've never done that.
Isn't it where it says following?
no, but it says, it's right here. It says,
Get updates.
yeah.
You can go to my page.
Go to my page if you want.
He doesn't follow you.
There you go. Oh.
All right, so let's say I like Fran, and then I get right here, I say get notifications.
Okay.
And then once I do that, every single time she posts anything, and then I get a notification.
You're just now liking it? I'm sorry.
Gosh.
I personally
Like anybody.
I haven't liked a whole lot of photographer pages. It's not because I don't like photographers, but because I don't want my newsfeed all like loaded with a bunch of photographers. I want wedding coordinators, venues, DJs, those people. And guys, you got to look at it from a standpoint of a DJ is one of the last persons to get hired, typically.
Yeah.
A florist is one of the last persons to get hired.
Yeah.
But does that mean that they're less important? No, because I'm not worried about if so-and-so goes to the florist and hires a florist and the florist says, oh, you got to hire Trevor Daily Photography. That's not what I'm worried about. I want their circle of friends.
Yeah.
I want that florist's friend to hire me, you know, and that DJ's friend. Because that DJ, they know, they've worked with me, and they're like, dude, you've got to hire Trevor. This guy's fun. He's you know. So that's who I really want. A couple more things. This is my favorite new thing that you guys are probably like, oh yeah, Trevor, old news. We already do that. Right here I wrote down touch note. Anyone use touch note yet? Woohoo!
I do it.
Shut up. I just told you about it.
I know.
So touch note, what it is, shoot, I didn't bring it with
Is
me.
it an app?
It's an app. You can get it on your iPhone or your iPad, and what it is you take a photo.
Here. You
Well-
want to see the app? Is that what you're going to show?
No, here. You know what? I can go to their website.
What is it? Touch note? Where does it do?
Touch note. So think of it in terms of you're sending a note that they can touch, right? So it's not like an image or whatever. So what I do is at the end of an engagement shoot or wedding or anything like that, I come on here on the app. I have it on my iPad. I take one of my favorite photos. I bring it over in the Dropbox so I can access it from my iPad, and then I go to touch note and I click send greeting card. It puts the photo on the card. I can type a message on there. Usually what I do, on the iPad there's another app called Over. I don't know if you ever heard of Over, but it allows you to put like cool hipster text on stuff. And so
Is it called Over? Just Over.
OVER, I think, yeah. So what I use, I will take the image into Over, I'll put some hipster text on it that says thank you or whatever. Then I bring it over to the touch note. Literally guys, it only takes minutes. I upload a touch note on the very back of the message or the card. I type, hey, I had so much fun, shooting with you guys. Can't wait for your wedding. Or hey, you had an awesome wedding. You guys, 1,000 years of happiness together. That's what I wrote to Sean and Jen, by the way.
Yeah.
Their favorite, their song, their first dance song was 1,000 Years. So I put that in the note. Get it? 1,000 years of happiness together.
Clever.
Yeah. So, and then what I'll do is I click the little button to send the greeting card. It mails it right to them. I can even have a custom photo stamp if I want on it. But guys, here's the amazing thing. It's like $1.15 It's like $1.
And,
And it sends a custom greeting card, and it's beautiful, and it's glossy, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful print.
You got
That's
my card, don't you?
I left it in my suitcase, not in my car.
Oh, okay.
It's called Touch Note, yeah.
There's another one, Post something that
Yeah.
too, my daughter uses.
Yeah, I have heard of that one too. What?
They have something that on Shark Tank.
Yeah. My wife said that. My wife said that. I didn't see it. I love Shark Tank. But yeah, guys, it's so easy. And guys, I'm just gonna start saying these to every venue, every florist that I work with. I'm like, that's $1 marketing, and they're getting this awesome thank you card. Like when I do a florist, I'm gonna grab a flower shot. I'm gonna say thank you, put on the back. You were such an amazing florist. I'm so glad I had an opportunity to shoot your flowers or whatever, and then send it off to them. The hardest part is just rounding up the addresses. But once you have those, like,
Can I interrupt you for
yeah.
one second and say one thing about
Of course.
Because I work with vendors, 24/7 for everything I do, like exclusively. And I'm telling you what, the one thing they tell me all the time is that they don't get photos.
Yeah.
So you said like your postman, it's super connected here too. I mean, the ones who've been doing it, they're doing it with the same people. But it wasn't that hard to kind of get in because there's people fall off. They don't
Yeah.
send photos in. They're like, why don't they send us photos of these great things we do? So it's
Yeah.
that one simple thing.
Absolutely.
Well, the idea behind this too is if they get an email like that, they're gonna go, oh, that's nice. They get something in the mail,
It's like, whoa.
that they can actually
Getting something in
hold
the mail
Yeah.
is
for a
the best.
buck.
Because it's so different. Nobody does it anymore.
Everyone
Right,
loves
nobody
non-bills.
Yeah, that's how you get the mail, right? Our bills
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and nobody gets little thank you cards and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyhow, the way Touch Note works, it's like $1. I think it's like $1.20 if you send just one card. If you buy like 10 credits, it's like $1.15. I bought 25 credits, it's $1.07 or $1.05 or something like that. And you can even buy 75 credits, which is now that I've been so impressed by it. The next time I do it, I'm gonna buy 75, and it's like 99 cents a card.
That is so
And it's
cheap.
yeah, it's so cheap. Even just to put a stamp and stuff on it.
That's
It's
so
more than-
awesome.
I mean, it's like 35 cents or whatever, right? So that's my new little thing that I'm gonna be doing to everybody. I've already started, and it's been a lot
It
of
just
fun.
comes from a picture from your phone.
You can grab either a picture from your phone. I grab it from Dropbox.
Oh,
So
oh,
I'll
yeah,
edit the
gotcha.
photos real quick.
It's only a 4x6 though, so it doesn't need.
Yeah, it's a 4x6.
Gotcha.
It's not
You
too
can
huge.
do it to pass too. You can
Yep.
just
Yeah,
download
you can totally
pass.
do it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, a couple more things, and then what I'm going to do, guys, is tomorrow I'm going to talk about the client meeting and pricing, and then obviously we'll get into a little bit of Lightroom as well. But actually, we'll probably do Lightroom late tonight. But anyhow, a couple
Yes,
more things
Lightroom.
real quick, guys.
Lightroom late tonight.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. If you guys have beautiful social media friends, like your friends on social media, and you're like, oh my goodness, they're such a beautiful couple. Guys, you cannot hit them up and be like, hey, can you help us out? I want to do a shoot for you guys for free. Again, they're going to be like, what's in it for you? Like, are you going to try to sell us images afterwards? What's going on? So what I do is when I have beautiful social media friends that are actually, savvy on social media and use it a lot, I will let them know, man, you guys are so pretty. One of these days I'd love to get you in front of my camera. And then I just tell them, this is the key word. I say, can you guys help me out? I would love to create some new images this month. I don't have that much going on. Would you guys be willing if I took you out and I'll give you the digital photos? But can you help me out? Don't say I want to give this to you for free. You are giving it to them for free, and you're going to tell them that, like, hey, I'll give you the images. But otherwise, it's that little catch, like, okay, they're bait and switching me or something, Just tell them, man, you guys are so beautiful. I just want to get you on my page, and then shoot that. I don't know, do you guys, how many of you guys know Clayton Austin? Clayton Austin? Clayton's an amazing photographer. When he was getting started early on, he would just grab models off Model Mayhem, put a girl and a boy together and have them like get almost kissing and stuff, and then post it on his page with like this awesome story about this couple and how beautiful they were. It was totally fake. He voted. Clayton's a great buddy of mine. That's why I can say this. In fact, I'm doing something with him next month. But he would do it just because it would get people like, oh my goodness, Clayton has these amazing couples and their stories and everything else. And people were like, I want to look like that. And so, find those beautiful people. Move business cards. Bluetooth speaker real quick. If you're not doing it already, get a Bluetooth speaker, bring it to the venue. When you get to the venue when you get to the bridal suite and they have their little iPhone in the corner, it's playing like, Pandora or something, be like, hey, we gotta turn the music up and get this going louder. And then they always say, oh, it's as loud as it goes. And you're like, oh, no, here. You pull out your Bluetooth speaker, right? In other words, no cables or anything, it's just battery operated. You have them hook up their phone to your Bluetooth speaker, and then all of a sudden the music gets really loud and gets fun, and it changes the entire environment. I'll tell you guys one quick story that was neat too. I just mentioned Jen, her favorite song was 1,000 Years, and the day before when we were doing a photo shoot with them, she said, yeah, just in passing as we were driving the car, she said, yeah, when Sean and I, when we get really stressed out by the wedding, we'd always listen to the song 1,000 Years. then it would like calm us down. Like she said, it would just kind of like calm us down. And so that's going to be our first dance song and things like that. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So as she's getting ready, I knew we were about 10 minutes away from getting her dress on. And so I went to my phone, and I have Spotify, which is you can create playlists. And I put a playlist, and I queued up 3 songs. And I said, okay, 3 songs. The third song was 1,000 Years by Christina Perri. And so as she's putting on her dress, literally they're zipping it up, all of a sudden 1,000 Years comes on. She's like, what? Like she didn't know we put it on. She just thought it was like the radio playing. And it just like her bridesmaid was like, oh. She still doesn't know to this day. It's a secret that I'll have to tell her about it since I'm sharing the story. But it was such a cool moment to see her like have that song. So you can use your little speaker to like, I have a 2 playlists on my Spotify. I have a groom playlist and a bride playlist. So if the bride already has a Bluetooth speaker and they're playing music, I'll go over to the groom's room and I'll put on the speaker there and I'll put like, like rap songs and like crazy like fun, Marvin Gaye, yeah, crazy stuff.
Hey, don't you use those in engagement sessions?
Yeah, I will use an engagement session. Not all the time, but I do sometimes.
I thought you told me you
Yeah. Teach a beginner workshop. That's a great one. That way you're like the expert photographer in the area. Get moms in there. Man, I'm running out of time, so I'm just gonna wedding pricing guide, guys. Shoot, can I show them this real quick, Chad? I'm so sorry. I don't know who I was talking to.
Just turn into my mom.
Hold on.
Come in here.
My dad put the dog's name for my one, that's good.
Guys, I just want to show you this real quick, and then I'll be done here. This is basically when somebody asks for my. Let's see, where is it? When somebody asks for my wedding guide.
It's my publications. Right there. Over in the middle. Go to my publications. It shows everything you've uploaded.
Okay.
You just gotta find the right one.
All right.
On there. Holy moly.
Here we go.
Wow.
No, that's not it. It says 0 impressions.
What is that?
How do you know that's?
That is it. It must not loaded it because it doesn't show anything yet. Okay, here's basically the email I send to my clients. It has my wedding guide in it. Now, yeah, well, ISSUU. It's basically you create a PDF, you upload it, and what it does is it creates a nice little thing where it looks like a magazine. You see that, how it pages? Now, here's the thing, guys. It is free. I had to pay for it only because the free version has like some ads on the side, and it will like try to link you to other things that it thinks are similar to what you're showing.
So
And
photographers.
possibly. Well, my thing, it said apology letter from Trevor, and it wasn't from me. It wasn't anything I put up there. It was some guy who was apologizing to his landlord for making a bunch of noise, but his apology was like had a bunch of like gut punches, like it was rude. His letter was rude. And I was like, I don't want anyone to accidentally think that was me. So I actually pay for it, but I'm looking for other options. So I think HP has the HP magazine thing that they do. MagCloud, yeah. So guys, this is basically it. It's kind of long, but what it is it shows people that, hey, this guy has his stuff together. Have style editing, details, posing, prompting, kind of goes through these little things, has a bunch of like pictures that people can look at, almost like Pinterest, talks about natural light as well as, studio lighting, kind of off-camera flash. Guys, I'm happy to email this to you guys. You guys can look through it, take whatever you want from it.
So you like this better than like a plus site?
I do, because I send it as a PDF link. I send it as a link, and then they click on it, and then immediately they're like, whoa, like that's big, like that's crazy. And it kind of blows them away as opposed to just a website. I get people commenting on this all the time where they're like, oh my goodness, I love that, that layout. So then it goes into my wedding collections. The first one is collection 1. I'll talk about pricing tomorrow, but it's the anchor price. Collection 2, collection 3. Wedding albums, remember Chad said show some pictures? There's a bunch of pictures of wedding albums right there. Engagement sessions, talks about that a little bit. About me, my little section about me, and it's so funny how many people comment on this. They'll say, oh my goodness, we love that photo of your kids or whatever. And then lastly, it just kind of says, hey, what do we do next? And it has the information. So this is what I put together. I've been sending it out for over 2.5 years now, and it's one of the biggest things that I think kind of separates me from a lot of photographers in my area. Because when they ask for pricing, and you guys send them one PDF sheet or an email that says, here's my pricing, and you list it out as bullet points, and then they get this from me, guess what? They're going to be like, holy crap, he has his stuff together. And what are we really selling when we're wedding photographers? When we're wedding photographers, we're not selling, our pictures. Everyone has great pictures. We're selling their fact. We're going to solve that fear that they have that they're actually going to get their photos back from their wedding photographer, unlike their friend who's been waiting 6 months. We're selling the fact that we're going to actually show up at your wedding day. We're selling the fact that it's that fear. We're resolving that fear of theirs. And that's what basically this thing helps me do, is because they go, he's,
I'm hiring this.
yeah, this guy obviously has his stuff together. And so, anyhow, yeah, the trust, exactly right. So, well, cool, guys. Well, thank you. I'm sorry I ran a little bit over. We're gonna go over to Chad, and then after Chad, we're gonna go out and shoot. And then, like I said, tomorrow we're gonna do a little bit. We're gonna do more shooting tomorrow, less of
Dance
this.
party tonight.
Dance party tonight. Rock on, Chad. Take it over, man.